Let's go.
What do you do with yours? I do unlimited football content.
Well, I do unlimited bragging.
Well, I do unlimited swiping right.
Well, I do unlimited doom scrolling.
Well, I do unlimited sliding into the DMs.
Well, I do watching TikTok on the bus without headphones unlimited.
Oh, God.
Yes, people, you heard that right. We've teamed up with Rocket Mobile to make the mobile phone plan for football fans in the UK. You heard it here. It's unlimited text, unlimited calls, unlimited data, plus 20 gigs of data to use abroad for just £16 a month. So using the EU, plus perks, other prizes, bonus content and everything when you make the switch over to Rocket Mobile. So make sure you scan the QR code on your screen or click the link below after the video is finished, after this live stream is finished, to get your hands on this incredible deal. And speaking of incredible deals, there's managers lining up apparently to take the job at Manchester United after Ruben Amorim's sacking. And today I'm joined by my number one enemy. It's Kim on the other side. How are you doing, my friend?
Very well, very well. Just the two of us today.
Just the two of us today. How was your Christmas, by the way?
Yeah, it was
New
good.
Year's?
It was lovely, to be fair. Nice to be back. Got back from Cornwall yesterday, straight into the thick of it this morning.
Yeah,
so
and it's
nice to be
been
back.
pretty much straight into the thick of it in the football world, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In the, you do realize we were only 6 days into
Yeah,
January.
it's absolutely nuts. I
Only
can't believe
6
how
days
much has
into
happened
January.
and how much has changed since the last time we spoke, which was like the 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah, it's a
Everything's
couple of days
flipped on
before
its head.
Christmas.
It's absolutely nuts.
It's absolutely mental.
crazy.
Enzo Maresca's been sacked. Jose Mourinho's been sacked. Rosenior's in at Chelsea, which we will touch on later on the show. But I do want to start with just obviously all of the latest news is coming out of Man United to do with the the last 48 hours for me has been it's the last basically 4 days. It was Amorim's presser on Friday was mental. He started taking pot shots at people here and there and being like, then the Leeds game happened, which was a really intense game. Then after the Leeds game, Ruben Amorim was, I want to be the manager, blah, blah, blah. Then he got sacked the next day. Then it came out that they already decided to sack him before the Leeds game, but they just gave him the Leeds game because it was just easier to sack him after it. And everything that's come out since has been mental. Like in terms of, it looks like, to me, it looks like he was trying to get sacked in the last few
100%.
weeks. Do you agree with that?
100%. I wasn't sure, and then I saw that video of him and his missus walking out in the snow today, and he's got a big grin on his face. I think he wanted to get sacked. And I think, to be fair to him, it's a really toxic place, Man United. No one apart from, well, we'll touch on the man who has succeeded slightly since Ferguson, but pretty much no one has succeeded since Ferguson. It seems like a strange time to sack him, though. It does seem like a very strange time to sack him in terms of your football was getting better. You were getting better results. I know the Leeds result wasn't fantastic. I know a couple of weeks haven't been absolutely perfect, but it did look like there was a genuine challenge there for maybe not top 4, but maybe top 6, maybe top 5. And it does seem like things were starting to go in the right direction. And then weirdly get sacked about 3 weeks after everyone's sort of saying, oh, okay, well, the team is actually improving
might be
a
doing
little
all right
bit.
again now, yeah.
It's like, it just stinks of what we've always talked about Man United. It's just a circus. None of it makes any sense.
That I agree. It just
makes no sense. I think you're completely right. I think he didn't want to be there anymore. I think he didn't want to walk out the door because obviously there's 10 to 30 million reasons why he didn't want to do that. He hasn't done that and he's got sacked. And I think coming out and saying what he said, he kind of made his position untenable, and he will have known that as well.
Yeah, well, so what was the report? So I don't know what you've seen about this, but effectively, one thing that the players thought was just so bizarre was apparently, when we played back 4 against Bournemouth and Newcastle, scored 4 goals versus Bournemouth. Obviously, we conceded 4 as well. Scored 4 versus Bournemouth, and then we also beat Newcastle 1-0. Second clean sheet of the season with a back 4. And it's kind of like, cool, making changes, there's stuff done here and there, and apparently we kept training the back 4 in training, and then we got to Old Trafford to face Wolves, and Amorim in the dressing room went, right, back 3, boys. And then all the players, apparently, so according to the reports, basically they were, it was palpable, they were just confused. They were like, why? And then again against Leeds, it was training with the back 4, training with the back 4, training with the back 4 for a solid few days, and then back 3 against Leeds. So it was almost like Ruben Amorim, after being told to go to a back 4, suggested that he should become more flexible and do a back 4 by the the guys upstairs. He's then gone, you know what? No, I'm I'm gonna do it in training.
Do you think they had that conversation with him? Do you think
100%,
they had
yeah.
a footballing conversation
Without
with
a
him to
shadow
tell him
of
to
a
play back
doubt,
four?
they said to him, "You've got to become more flexible."
Then there was never going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, the last show we did before Christmas, I said he's never going to change his style. He never was. He's wedded to his style. That's his philosophy. That's his religion. If anyone and to be honest, whether you think that he should be more flexible or not, no one upstairs should be telling the manager anything to do with tactics or anything to do with who plays and who's on the bench. That is the manager's job. If that is their only job, that's their only job. If you want to take control of transfers, you can take control of transfers. No one in a suit should be telling a manager what formation to play. That is absolutely mental. So if that is true, I fully back him basically forcing himself out. Because that is crazy. That's not how you run a football club. If you're spending however many millions on a manager per year, if you're paying his salary, you're paying him because you trust his vision for the team and what they can play. You can't be telling him to be more flexible or play in a back four.
This is what's then so interesting is the word you're using here is manager. This is what
it's so true.
This is what Ruben Amorim seemingly had a problem with, was that you go back to the initial announcements. It's Ruben Amorim is head coach. First time the club have ever used that phrase, by the way. On his contract, it says head coach. On all the things, it says our head coach says this. And then it says Ruben Amorim sacked as head coach. And he goes, I want to be the manager. I want to be the manager. I want to be head coach, etc., etc. So the way Ineos are trying to line this all up, either for better or for worse, which I don't necessarily agree with the way they're doing this. We're seeing how it's not working at Chelsea with Enzo Maresca as well, is that they want a guy who basically takes training, selects a team, and cracks on with it and works alongside other people in terms of recruitment and the long-term plan. And what Amorim said to United and what United agreed with Amorim was, okay, you can start with your 3-4-2-1, but then over time it's going to evolve. The players are going to become more complex. You're going to do more interesting stuff. And you're going to do more like advanced stuff, like changing, like Pep Guardiola has it at City. You change formations over the course of a season, over the course of a few seasons. It's what most managers do. And I think United got to the point where they were like, we've been here a year. We said we'd evolve. We said we'd change. You've got to now start doing it. And he's just gone, nah, I'm all right. Yeah. And then it's like we win games when he does change for a few games. We go back. And you can't go back to your formation and make a point by doing the 3-4-2-1 and then draw against Wolves and draw against Leeds, who is 20th and 16th in the table.
It's not.
You can't do it because he's ended up proving everyone else's point.
But the thing is, we're talking about Amorim because he's the one who's been sacked. But when has head coach ever worked? When has it actually ever worked? Barcelona, Pep got given the keys to the kingdom. Same at City. Arteta can make the signings he wants at Arsenal. Jurgen Klopp, yes, they were financially restrained, but they never made him play a certain way. They never made him sell any players. They never forced him into buying a certain type of player that they wanted for the club. He had a direct hand in all of those transfers. Same with Jose Mourinho at Chelsea. Same with Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. When has this head coach ever worked? When have suits upstairs known more about what should be happening on the pitch than the managers? When have they ever interfered successfully? Honestly,
I completely agree with you. I completely agree.
And that's why like we'll talk about it in a minute. Who might be coming in next? But if they're a head coach, it doesn't really matter because it's not going to work. That doesn't work. And it's proved with Amorim. Amorim is a very good coach, and I think he's been quite unlucky with the cards he's been dealt. Yes, he was probably too stubborn, and he should have changed for himself, for his own benefit. He should have changed. I think he'll be a successful coach somewhere in the future. I agree with you. But that relationship with the higher ups and the manager, or the higher ups and the head coach at Man United, has not been healthy at all since Fergie. Yeah, and he's just another victim of it.
Yeah, so Christopher, big up for Super Chat, mate. Thank you. He says, after Maresca got sacked, people said owners don't care and club is being ran poorly. Would you admit Man United is doing the exact same, Dylan? I think we're in danger of going the same way as Chelsea. In terms of like being run poorly and the owners not caring, Glazers, we all are like I don't really need to speak on the Glazers because everybody knows exactly what's going on there. They're the Americans collecting the paychecks, and they're using now Sergeant Ratcliffe as a buffer. Right, everything's on Ratcliffe and Wilcox and Barada now. That is, to a certain extent, that is true. It's not conspiracy theory. It's true because everyone's now. We would have gone at the Glazers maybe for this, like more at this, 5 seasons ago. There's now a bit of a buffer with Sergeant Ratcliffe, and I think we are being run poorly in the way that ultimately what you've been saying, Kim, is true. When does a head coach work? The only time I can think of a head coach working is Arteta, but that's because he started as a head coach and graduated to manager.
Exactly.
A head coach can't be the final position of the head coach / manager. Like it may be given. You might give someone who you don't want to give the keys to the full trust. You have to earn the keys. Like Pep Guardiola at Barcelona, ultimately he did earn the keys by being at the club for so long, being a player for the club. Having Lionel Messi helps. And then with Arteta, it was his first managerial job. They gave him the head coach role to prove himself as a tactical coach. And then next steps was then give him more responsibility as a manager, which is why now we're seeing 8th, 5th, second, possibly winning the league this season. That's progression here. But with Amorim, maybe he was demanding it too soon. Maybe that would have been the progression with Amorim. We'll never know. But I do think we're being run. Part of me thinks it might be a little too early to tell, and I do think some changes might be needed upstairs. Like Wilcox may be given a bit too much responsibility because he didn't even hire him as a director of football. He was our technical director. We hired Ashworth, who, by the way, now looks like a bucket of roses, considering that he wanted a prem and proven manager, experienced manager, wasn't massively sold on the whole Amorim thing. So Dan Ashworth, and he just pocketed a paycheck basically for 5 months and a termination fee and then left. So I do kind of agree we are being run dodgily at the moment, and there is scope to fix it, but there's also major questions need to and are being asked about the people upstairs, the decisions they're making.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, let's be honest, this isn't a new thing. I said it, I mean, since Fergie left, there have been a lot of poor decisions. No manager has ever been given that much time. And this might sound completely ridiculous, but I would say the David Moyes appointment, for example, that's who Fergie had identified. Fergie was one of the sharpest footballing minds in the entire world of all time. He is who he identified as someone to take over. The fans didn't take to him, which is fine. But that David Moyes thing was supposed to be a project. That got cut short. Okay, fine. Let's go for someone who's a bit more experienced, someone who's tactically incredibly astute, worked under the best managers, worked with the best managers in Louis van Gaal. That didn't work at all. Same with Erik ten Hag, this new, young, up-and-coming tactical genius coach.
Worked
that
under
didn't
Pep
work.
Guardiola at Bayern, etc.
Exactly.
Ajax School of Football, etc.
Nothing has worked. Nothing has worked, and through various different reasons. But in my opinion, it always comes back to the same thing, which is that, yes, there's a lot of pressure managing Manchester United. Yes, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure that comes with the press and the responsibilities. Yes, Manchester United's transfer policy has probably been quite poor, which means that they've overplayed for certain players, which have inflated their ego, which has cost them on the pitch, which has cost them in the dressing room. All of that is probably true, but that all comes down to people who are above the manager. And what's going to change? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer might come in until the end of the season. There'll be a definite feel-good factor around the club because he's been your best manager since Fergie left. He's also one of your club legends. There's going to be a huge feel-good factor. Maybe, you will get top 4 with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You might keep him till next season. It won't work because it didn't work last time. You might replace him. Who are you going to replace him with? Who are Ineos, the board, Wilcox? Who are they going to give enough time to completely transform whatever it needs to be transformed at Man United? I don't think they will. So when this happens, as a City fan who loves the downfall of United, I'm not excited that Amorim's gone. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted him to keep in his job because I don't think he's that much of a threat. No, it doesn't make any difference. I don't trust anyone at the club to make a positive decision from this. So for me as a City fan, I'm like, it doesn't really matter who comes in next. You're never going to be that juggernaut who I was terrified of as a kid. And that needs to change. Whatever is happening up there, in my opinion, is so much more important than whoever comes in next. I do think for the vibes around the club and for the fans to get behind someone, Ollie would be absolutely perfect for you. And the fact that his first game could be against City in the derby really terrifies me, to be fair.
Yeah, if it is Solskjaer, considering just how often he had your number when he was, I think he might be one of the only managers for us, or the only manager since Sir Alex who beat you 3 times in a season or something like that. Like it was like we played you 4 times, we beat you 3 out of the 4 or something mental like that. But yeah, the way I see it, more than anything, in terms of when you're asking me who should you hire, I can't give you a name. Right now, I can't give you a name because, as well, I don't know who's even going to be available. Like the next permanent manager to come in will be in the summer, right? Yeah. It'll be because that makes more sense, gives us 4 or 5 months breathing room to actually make that decision rather than, Ten Hag's gone. Amorim, flavour of the month, let's get him in.
But
that's basically what it was.
Can I just say, how stupid is that? How stupid is that?
In retrospect,
you're,
it
you're,
was insane.
no, but how stupid is it now, anyway, to sack a manager because you've fallen out with him with no adequate replacement when you are genuinely competing for a top 4 spot? This is not like one of those situations where you're 16th.
But also, I'd argue it's the first time we've sacked a manager while there's actually still something to play for.
That's what I mean.
It's the thing.
There's still loads to play
Actually,
for.
Mourinho as well, kind of, but that's because Solskjaer ended up doing so damn well when he came in. Like, we weren't, like, Champions League, when we sacked Mourinho, well, I think we were 7th or 8th, I believe. Maybe we were 6th, but like, Champions League was already looking a bit dodgy in December. Solskjaer comes in, he wins like 9 on the bounce, gets the permanent contract, beats PSG, etc., what a night that was. But then he ends up finishing 4th. Next season, sign Bruno, we finished 3rd, we finished 2nd, then he then goes when we finish. He needed to go. But I think a lot of the reasons Ole got sacked, actually, like that is a conversation to be had. It's like you're hiring a manager as an interim who you want sacked because you thought he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But having thought, so yesterday, literally on Live at 5 yesterday, I was saying Michael Carrick. I was being like, that's the guy who I want because Solskjaer been there, done that. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? A lot of the reasons Solskjaer failed at United aren't here or aren't relevant. So a big reason he failed at United, results, right? We're like 8th in the league. We're being battered by Liverpool, battered by you, battered by Watford. He had to go. It was the right decision at the time, and it remains that way. But it's the decisions in the summer beforehand, which were the wrong decisions, retrospectively, signing Ronaldo, etc., that contributed massively, and just board incompetence. Like, these reasons either aren't relevant or don't exist anymore. Like, our squad-wise, I'd say, so much less toxic than that dressing room under Rangnick and under Solskjaer. Like, the egos, etc., in that dressing room, and the discontent as well in the dressing room with, like, Jadon Sancho not being happy, Ronaldo complaining left, right, and centre, and kind of like feeding the minds of some of the other players who were then going, oh, you know, he's right. Oh, this club's blah, blah, blah. That's irrelevant and gone. Right, the dressing room is a lot more unified now. I'm not seeing a team that's downing tools under Amorim. Right, yeah, they've not had great results, but they're kind of trying. We've got players. We've got Bruno, Ahmad, Delit, Maguire, Mount, all to come back, and they're all ready. They're still top 4 is still possible. They're playing, by the way, for a 25% wage bump at the same time as well.
Yeah.
So like if you whatever motivation you want to talk about, it's still there to get Champions League. And in terms of boarding competence and not giving Solskjaer the transfers he wanted, Declan Rice, Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham. The one we did give him was Sancho, which we spent 18 months. Solskjaer got that one wrong, right? That's misidentified profiling. But the rest of them, that's the 2 best players in the Premier League this season in Haaland and Rice, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
Plus Jude Bellingham, one of Real Madrid's best players, one of the best young players in the world, etc. Like, obviously, I'm not saying we would have got all 4 of them. We didn't even try. We said no to Haaland. We tried with Bellingham, and we 40 million for Rice, and we went, I don't think it's worth it. Like, that's, again, irrelevant if it's just a 6-month spell, isn't it? Right? Yeah. We don't care about transfers. It's about... And the other thing is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will get in here if he joins and go, okay, what have I got? How can I use it? Sweet. Like,
I think it'll work.
I think it would be... Personally, I think it would be a great appointment only if I know 100% for a fact that he's not going to stay. I wouldn't want him to, no matter what happens, even top 4 in FA Cup, I still wouldn't want him to stay.
Why?
Because I would just...
He's still been your best manager since
Fergie. I feel like that... Okay, maybe if he was to finish second, get an FA Cup, etc., like, I'd be like... I'll see how I feel at the time, but right now, like, I want it as interim, or at least the decision to keep him or not keep him is actually left until the end of the season. We didn't do that last time. I know it ended up working out. He's been our best manager post Fergie. He has, because I know he didn't win a trophy, but in terms of, like, I feel the best way to judge a manager is how they do in the league. Like, yes, you can win the cups, you can collect the trophies, and I know Solskjaer lost an FA Cup final, lost the Carabao Cup final, but he finished 2nd and 3rd. Yeah. In, you could argue, poor seasons, but he still finished 2nd and 3rd against other teams, and he was beating these big teams, etc. So my overall thoughts on it, just are that, because last time he came as an interim, and in December we gave him a contract in March. At the time, I was like, why have you done that? Wait till the end of the season, see what actually happens. We just gave him a contract. We beat PSG, and he had like 9 wins in 10 or something mad like that. But yeah, I do think it's the best appointment out there. And then genuinely, even if you think about giving him or not giving it to him, leave it until after the final game of the season.
What type of manager do you want permanently?
I want someone who can actually work with what they're given. Because I'm so sure that the squad we have is better than what we've seen under Ruben Amorim. I really this season so far, I really think it is. I know other teams have been falling down hurdles, Liverpool drawing and losing. Even like City, you've had some losses and some draws of late, and you had a wobble kind of towards the beginning of the season. Arsenal have been the only semi-consistent team, but even then they've had a draw, they've had a loss in the last month or so. But like the squad that we have, I think there are some additions that are needed, but I think it's a good squad, and I don't want a manager who comes in and goes, lads, I'm going to need 400 million over the course of the next 2 years. Because we just can't do that. Like, we have Mbumo, who was so wanted. Šeško is one of the scouts, as far as scouts, like before this season, like he was like, one of the most highly sought after strikers. Everyone wanted him. Cunha's fantastic. I think Delit's been great this season. Lamens was wanted by City, by Villa, etc. before we signed him. Midfield, we just need new midfielders, but like obviously we still got Bruno Fernandes for now. We'll see what happens, but I want a manager who will actually to some extent use what he's got, because I think what we've got is a good start. I don't want to see just a rip up again. Like, just continue with what we've got and what we have, and then maybe work out from there what else you need.
Next.
That's where I see it. But who that is, I could not tell you. I don't know. I've got some ideas. Managers I like I like Iraola. I like Nagelsmann, for example. Glasner, not 100% sold on, but at least he's proved himself in the Premier League. At least Palace squad gets worse, but gets better at the moment. Like, they're losing Eze, and they look better than they did last season, obviously, until injuries have hit them. But at the moment, I'm focusing on Burnley. I'm focusing on who we're getting in. Hopefully it's Solskjaer just till the end of the season, and then next steps to actually take at the time. That's how I see it.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Solskjaer will work. I think it will work in an interim basis. I think there is a genuine danger that it will work too well, and then you're stuck with a really difficult decision again. When it comes to the end of the season, if you do end up finishing in those top 4 places, if you do go on a cup run, then you're in a difficult position, because that's something that the previous manager, who you spent a lot of money on, could only make you finish 16th, and you lost in the Europa League final, and probably the worst game in history.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can go from that to then finish in 4th or 3rd with basically the exact same squad with a couple of additions, then you're stuck in a difficult situation where people are probably looking at Solskjaer and thinking, well, you were our best manager post-Fergie. You've now come in again. You obviously understand the club. You've done exactly the same thing. Maybe, just maybe this time, if we throw a little bit of money at you, it will work. That's why I think it's a bit of a dangerous one, because it's certainly not, in my opinion, this is not going to be a disaster.
But are you saying dangerous because you feel like we could try again, but the same result will happen?
I think it's dangerous because I think it almost certainly will work quite well. There's no way that Solskjaer comes in and you finish 10th, 11th, 12th. Solskjaer will come in and you will finish in one of the European slots, in my opinion. And then you're in a situation where the new interim manager, who you've only given 6 months, does better than the manager who you've spent loads and loads of money on, and who you gave a year and a half. And then the plethora of managers out there isn't that great, is it? There aren't that many managers who are out of contract, who would want to leave the clubs that they're at to go to Manchester United at the moment. And then you're stuck with the situation of, well, do we just give him the job on a permanent deal again? And then you're back in exactly the same position. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
It's the best appointment, and I get there is a world where that might end up happening. But I think right now, if you were to say to me, what do you want to happen in the next 6 to 8 months, Dylan? It's Solskjaer to come in, that to happen, and then us to then kind of go, thank you, mate, you've done what you said you'd do, now we're going to go do something else. Like that would be my ideal scenario here. No matter how well Solskjaer finishes, I might feel different. Like, this can be clipped or whatever. I might feel different at the time, but I always just say how I feel. And how I feel depends on what's going on at the club. If Solskjaer wins if Solskjaer wins 15 of our last 18 games, we finish second and then blitz the FA Cup, then I'm like, okay, clearly the guy might, you know that meme of the cat doing with the Ferrari thing, he might know something, like maybe he does. But that's how I feel at the moment. Toby AK asks, I hear Math Rosenior plays a back 3 as well. We will get onto this, by the way, because obviously before we heard of Rosenior taking over Chelsea, etc. I'll admit I didn't know loads about him, so I've done some research on him. Interesting stuff. We will get onto that towards the end of the show, because how he plays, how it's going to look for Chelsea. But I do want to ask you, as a City fan, you've had some injuries of late, haven't you? Gvardiol's out, Diaz is out for 6 weeks, and then suddenly you're in for Mark Guehi. How are you reacting
We
to
should
that?
have been in for Mark Guehi before anyway. I think we're quite light at the back, particularly in that centre-back position. We've obviously got Guardiola and Diaz. Akanji went out on loan. Nathan Ake is very injury-prone. John Stones, you know how much I love him. I've made that very, very clear on numerous occasions. But he is coming to the end of his career. He can't play more than a few games with staying fit. You've got Kusanov, who's very, very young, very raw. Probably, in my opinion, should have gone out on loan. I think the reason that he didn't was because we are quite light at centre-back. And then Victor Hayes, who's also very young and on loan at Girona. It looks like he's putting in some great performances over there. But I think the Guehi thing just made sense to me. I'll be honest, like, you can clip it up and you can call me a City fan all you want. I don't really ever care about the money. And to be honest, I don't think that any fan of their club who actually supports their club should care at all about finances. I think we speak about it so much all the time. It gets over-talked about because it's something to talk about.
Well, I
But,
think
like,
to some extent you should care. If you're paying 85 million quid for Anthony, you should care. But I get what you mean in terms of as long as you pay something that's not stupid.
It doesn't make it. That's what I mean. It doesn't make a difference to me. Like, I'm a season ticket holder at City. I go to City. I sit with my family. I enjoy watching the game. I don't really care. I'm not an accountant. I don't care what we spend on him. I don't care if he costs 35 million, but he would be free in summer. I don't care. I want him. So it doesn't bother me. You know, like City fans I can see on like Twitter and online are like, why would we pay so much for someone who's going to be free? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If he comes in and he sorts out our back four and we end up winning the league, that 35 million is the best 35 million ever spent. And I think Guehi is so good that I think 35 million spending that, which means that Liverpool don't get him and we get him, is a really good
Like,
buy
so
going
Man
forward.
City as well, just buying someone so no one else can have him. Like, my first thought is always Wilfred Bonny.
Yeah. Oh,
When
no.
you sign Wilfred Bonny
I was
just because
gassed
you wanted
as
to make
well.
sure that no one
Yeah,
else
yeah,
had
I
him.
know.
You're doing the same with Semenyo as well. I do think part of the reason you're in for Semenyo is because you want to make sure that no one else gets him.
I think City have spent quite poorly over quite a few transfer windows. I do think that is true. I think people can talk about how much money we've spent, and we have spent too much. But I actually think the end result of it is that we don't have as good a squad as probably the money that we spent in the past would have suggested, or the money that we've spent now suggests. I think we've got quite big holes in our squad. You look at right back. Our right back is a £60 million centre attacking midfielder from Wolves, who should still be playing for Wolves. He is Wolves quality, and he is our only right back. That's not good enough, in my opinion. The wingers that we have aren't good enough, and we have spent money there. We've spent on Marmoush, we've spent on Doku, and now we're spending again on Semenyo because the transfer policy has been quite poor. And I don't want to advocate for just continually throw money at the wall until some of it sticks and you get a good squad. But the Guehi transfer for me really, really makes sense. I don't mind that he would be free in summer. We need a centre-back now, and he is definitely in the top 5 centre backs in the league. So
Do
it just
you
makes
think
sense.
he'd come in and just be a first choice centre back?
I think probably. I think, to be honest, like the first choice thing isn't really relevant with City because we actually do have
You
so many
rotate all the time
injuries,
anyway, it's
and we
Pep.
rotate all
Yeah.
the time that there isn't really a first choice. I guess our best starting 11 probably has Diaz on that right hand side of centre back, and probably has Guardiola.
Yeah.
But they don't really play together all the time because one of them is usually succumbed to a niggle. Different things happen and we need different players. And I think Guehi would play as much as Diaz or Guardiola. And I do think I've been very, very confident every time I've come on here about City winning the league. The last 2 games have been very disappointing. The Sunderland game, not to score in that game, I thought we were pretty unlucky, to be honest. I thought we had some really good chances in that game, and I thought we were the better team. The Chelsea game, we probably didn't deserve to win that game. It's annoying that it happened in the 93rd minute. We didn't deserve to win that game. But we're now 6 points behind Arsenal.
Yeah,
And
I
we're
want
without-
to ask
and
you
we're-
this quickly. Just your next 5 fixtures, obviously with Pep Guardiola and his tactics and everything, and obviously there's still a chance he could leave in the summer. Obviously, I know you're pretty confident he won't.
Yeah, I don't
Said
think
to
he
me
will.
before, but like your next 5 fixtures in the Premier League, you've got Brighton at home, and then United away, and then Wolves at home, and then I've lost it, and then Spurs away, and then Liverpool away.
Yeah.
That's a hard 5 fixtures
Yeah,
with your
incredibly
centre backs out. If you can't, especially if you can't get Mark Guehi.
Yeah, incredibly difficult. I mean, incredibly difficult. I think I still think that City will win the league. I don't know
That's
why.
one thing I was going to ask you
I
because I know you've been saying this since basically September.
I still think we'll win the league, and there's not really any reason for it, to be honest. Like, yeah, we get paid for our footballing opinion. There is no opinion that I can give you that makes me think that City will win the league, other than I just have a feeling that we still will.
You just trust your team.
I just trust the team. I think football changes so quickly as well. Like, we go to Brighton before Arsenal host Liverpool.
Yeah.
We host Brighton, sorry. We beat Brighton. We're only 3 points behind. And then Arsenal are taking on Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool haven't been on good form, but anything can happen in that game. And you start to slowly claw these points back. It's very, very unfortunate that our next 5 games include United away, Spurs away, which for some reason we almost never win at, and Liverpool away.
Yeah, you Spurs at home, even though, no matter how bad Spurs are, you've always...
we can't win.
You never do
we can't win.
ever.
I remember my first 5 trips to the new Spurs stadium. I saw us score 0 goals and we lost 5 games. We lost 5 games. It doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't. And I think you're right to point out those 5 games. If we can get 13 to 15 points out of those 5 games, which I know is very ambitious.
I want to take them through you. So just the predictions for next week. Don't just give me score predictions, but general predictions. Brighton at home.
I think we'll win that.
You'll win that, yeah. I think you will win that because you've drawn your last 2, but I think Erling Haaland seems to have be banking up some XG at the moment.
Yeah, he's been on quite poor form in the last few games, and I think again this is a bit of a problem with the thin squad. I think really Pep has been known so much for rotation, and that's because we've had the squad to do that. If you look at the starting 11 over the last sort of 10, 12 weeks, which is the busiest period, there haven't been that many changes, and I think the players are really tired, and Haaland is one who is suffering a lot.
And the person I'd say you'd most likely bring in to, if you wanted to rotate Haaland, would be Marmoush. But
exactly.
Marmoush then AFCON.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's also nothing you can do about it. Like, having to play Erling Haaland is by far... Like, that's a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah.
But
it's a first world problem, but it is a bit unfortunate that he's probably a bit over-fatigued at the moment.
It's still like that.
But Brighton, we win.
Brighton win, and then next one, a week later, United away. Assume Solskjaer's in charge for this.
That is a really tough one for me. I think we'll win. I think it'll be very, very tight. I think we'll win.
I think you're odds on to win the game.
I think we'll win. It'll be a really horrible, 2-1 type of game. It'll be proper end-to-end. It'll be proper frantic.
It'll be a frantic game, because that's also the game. I think that's the first game back where we're going to have all our guys back.
Yeah.
Most likely, unless someone makes the final of AFCON.
I think probably 2-1. Yeah. I think we'll win that. I think we'll scrape that one.
And then Wolves at home.
Wolves at home, you'd expect us to win.
Expect to win, so that's 3. That's 9 out of 9. And then it's Spurs away.
One of Liverpool away.
It's Spurs away and Liverpool away.
Liverpool away will lose. We always lose at Anfield. We haven't won there in 31 years, I think it is now. No matter what happens, no matter what form they're on, we never win at Anfield, and I think we will lose at Anfield.
Yeah.
The Spurs game is an interesting one because Spurs are always really good against us, whether they're home or away. Actually, they're always really good against us. They're a bogey team, but they have been very, very poor at home this year.
So if you're going to lose against Liverpool, are you going to finally beat Spurs at home?
I think we could beat Spurs. I think we could beat Spurs,
which would be
away,
12.
Which I think would be 12.
12 out of 15.
I think we can get 12.
If you can grab 12 from that, that's a very applaudable, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think if we can grab 12 from that, I do think that we are. I would be very confident of us winning the league.
Yeah.
I think, and I think that's how tight it is. I think any less than that, I think at some point I'm going to have to concede because Arsenal just don't concede points. At some point I'm going to have to sit here and say Arsenal will win the league. And I think probably after those 5 games, if we get any less
by the end of, I think by mid-February, by Valentine's Day,
I think
we'll have a better gauge of what's going on. If it's
100%.
still 6 points by then, you can't say anything.
You can't say anything
because Arsenal can always have their, it gets to April and they'll just draw and lose 2.
I think if at any point before we play them it gets to 10 points, I think I will happily concede that Arsenal will win the league.
Yeah. But, we'll just come to find out. But I do want to move back to United chat, by the way, for a sec. Because, A, we've got some further news coming from David Ornstein talking about the managerial thing. And also, B, we've got Alice Talks Footy joining us, I believe. Is she in? There you go. Alice, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, you.
I'm good. So, obviously, just as you're joining, the timing, by the way, here is fantastic, is that David Ornstein and Laurie Whitwell have come out together saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a leading contender now to become Manchester United's caretaker manager after holding talks with the club today. So apparently the club have been holding talks with, or at least informal talks, with a number of candidates, being Michael Carrick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've also seen Ruud van Nistelrooy's been thrown around as a possible option. Also, Darren Fletcher, current like almost interim at the moment, is also potentially, he's up for consideration just as an option. But everything seems to be pointing towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as if it can be done, he's the man that they want for the rest of the season. And Alice, I just want to know, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I've got mixed thoughts, There's a bit of me that's like, to be honest, when Ollie was sacked, the standards were higher. Ruben Amorim was allowed to finish 15th and keep his job. I think Ruben Amorim and Ten Hag were allowed to be a lot worse than Ollie was. So I'm like, yeah, there's that element of it. My only fear with Ollie is we know that McKenna did a lot of the coaching and they want a head coach and all of that. And I guess if Fletcher's there and Carrick's there to do the coaching, I kind of get it. Ollie's good for vibes, like getting everyone on side, getting everyone in the dressing room happy. Like he wants to kind of play attacking football. He knows the club. Like he's definitely good for vibes. I definitely preferred Ollie Ball to Amorim Ball. I think everyone did, even in the worst of Ollie Ball. It was better than Amorim Ball.
I think even rival fans would have probably preferred it.
Like it's one of those where I like Ollie and I'm not against it as long as it's like till the end of the season and not permanent. Do you know what I mean? Like if he's coming to just get the vibes back to the end of the season, that is fine, because that like he's going to play his sort of 4-3-3. I know we don't have a left winger. That it's probably going to like get the players back on side. How he picked us up after Mourinho left. I think the best football we played post Sir Alex was that lockdown period when we had the Martial, Pogba, Bruno 3, we had Rashford, Greenwood, Martial. It was the NHS Martial wouldn't stop scoring up top.
Oh, NHS Martial was different gravy. He was. That
was the best football we've seen post Sir Alex Ferguson, and that was under Ollie. I think the most success we probably had was under Jose, or Ten Hag's first season was pretty impressive when you think of third in a trophy. But I think that was my favourite football. So I think right now the mood at United is so miserable. The back three was just awful. The youth was being ignored. And if we just need to get a bit of United DNA back, I guess maybe Ollie, because who else is really available right now there's no one available right now that I'm like, you're great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear that. Especially like managers who would actually want to just be happy to say yes for a few months. Because I've been talking to some of my United friends. They've been going, oh, why don't we offer the interim job to like Xavi and say to him that if he does well in the 6 months, we'll give him a new contract. But I think most big managers would, especially someone like Xavi, Barcelona La Liga winner, one of the best midfielders in the last 50 years or whatever. They would just have enough self-respect to go, well, no, if you want me, you give me a 2.5-year contract. You don't give me a 6-month contract and hope I do well enough, or just bring me off if you don't think so.
Apparently, Ollie would do it for free. I'm hearing reports like Ollie would happily do the job for free. And I'm just looking, I think Ineos cost cutting. Ollie wouldn't demand a payout. Ollie probably do it for free. Also, one thing Ineos don't like is the club legends criticising the manager. Well, they're not going to criticise Ollie. That's number 2. And then
that
number
is true.
3,
Gary Neville would be suddenly become United's biggest fan again, wouldn't he?
And Ollie's a bit of a yes man. We know Ineos want a yes man. We know Ineos want a cost cut, and we know Ineos want to shut Gary Neville up. And Ollie ticks those 3 boxes. So that's what I think Ineos are looking at, to be honest. But they also know most fans would quite like it. Like, I'm concerned because I think McKenna was responsible for the best work under Ollie. I am concerned. Also, we don't have a left winger, which explains the Semenyo links. And we need a midfielder. But I just don't think it can be much worse than Amorim Ball.
Do you think maybe as well that the squad we have, I know you mentioned obviously we don't have a left winger, and obviously Ole's left winger was Rashford, like 24-year-old Rashford, also like back injury Rashford. But before then, obviously Rashford was just a fantastic winger. He still is at Barcelona. He's got 7 goals, 11 assists in 25 games. But could you argue that maybe our squad is better now than it was under Solskjaer when we were finishing second or first? So Solskjaer would have a lot to work with in our squad, or do you think there are like deficiencies in our squad that could hold Solskjaer back if he was to be interim and try and go for that top 4?
The midfield is the problem because Matic, Pogba, Bruno. Well, midfield, I like Maino. He can probably do the Pogba role, but Pogba was immense when he came back from I think it was an injury or something. Matic is a bit like Casemiro, top player, but Matic was starting to lose his legs. So Matic and Casemiro are quite light for light, but I'd probably put Matic a little bit above Casemiro just at that point in time to Casemiro
in terms
now.
Of consistency, maybe.
Yeah. Maino's just would do the Pogba role, but he's maybe not as physically dominant as Pogba. Bruno is Bruno. Bruno's still a nuts player. I think Mbumo is probably better than what Mason Greenwood was back then on the right. I think Cunha. I think it would be Cunha in the Martial role, not Sesko, just because Martial.
That's what I was going to mention to you is that Solskjaer loved having Anthony Martial drop deep and link up play. So could Cunha provide the same kind of? But even Šeško as well does it quite well. Like, because I personally think there are some really, really good profiles in this squad that he would make very, very good use of towards the end of the season.
Yeah, so I look at Cunha and I think, I don't know if he'd be better than NHS Martial, but he'd probably be more consistent. And then Ahmad on the left. I don't know how Ahmad would do left wing, but I think he's probably the best person for it, unless you put Mbumo left wing, given that with Mbumo role.
And then Ahmad on the right.
And Ahmad on the right. Maybe you put Mbumo left wing, Ahmad on the right. Yeah. It's pretty good. And then the back line is probably, I mean, you've got right back, you've got Mazraoui or Dalot. I think Mazraoui's better, but I think you'd go with Dalot to begin with. Left back, you've got Shaw. And we'll see how Dorgu does in the back four. I think he's better in the back four for Denmark. And then he wanted De Ligt before Maguire. You've got to remember, Ollie actually first choice centre back for De Ligt. Then we got Maguire, and De Ligt is better than Maguire. So if De Ligt's fit first, he goes in next to Leacher, I think. But you've got Heaven, you've got Euro. I think the back line's better because, like, I know Lindelof and Maguire had a good clean sheet record. I think they went 23 games unbeaten away from home under Ollie. But I think De Ligt and Leacher is better than Maguire and Lindelof. I think midfield is worse. I think the attack is on par, but maybe more consistent.
Would you say maybe Le Mans is then also possibly more reliable than De Gea? Not necessarily in shot stopping, but his overall game. Because we all know how De Gea was, like, catching and claiming and not being commanding. He could maybe be a more solid goalkeeper for Solskjaer.
Yeah, I think when the season we came second, because I've been naming the squad mostly when we came third and we went on that lockdown run.
Yeah.
But the team when we came second, we had Dean Henderson in goal for a few months, and we did look quite better with Dean Henderson in goal, weirdly, under Ollie. I thought that was one of our best periods.
That's true.
So maybe with Le Mans just being a bit more confident. But I think De Gea became more reliability under Ten Hag because Ten Hag wanted to play out with his goalkeeper a lot more than Ollie did. I think that's when De Gea became liability.
And just one more thing I want to ask you. So obviously, you know, this show, we're sponsored by Rocket, and what we do every single show, something also I like doing anyway, is Rocket presents Ranked. And I want to ask you, Alice, if you were to rank them, when Solskjaer was our manager, what are like your top 3 moments under Ole? Is there any that spring to mind?
Oh, I don't know, because we didn't win any trophies. That's the annoying thing. But you had the number one moment, I think it was when we beat Leeds 5-1. We just come second the season before. We just signed Rafael Varane. Varane is announced in the stadium. And Rafael Varane, apart from injuries, was a brilliant signing for us.
Oh, so good.
We won 2 trophies with him. We'd signed Varane. We battered Leeds 5-1. Bruno got a hat-trick. Pogba got 4 assists. Like, I generally believed we were going to win the league that season. Then we went to sign Ronaldo, and then it kind of all went. But that was number 1. I think number 2 was the mood of bringing back Ronaldo. I know we needed a midfielder more than Ronaldo, but I think he helped us get Ronaldo because they had a good relationship. And
just
then
like that moment of seeing him in the...
Yeah. And then number 3 was definitely just lockdown vibes. You know, we were like 8th. We signed Bruno. Rashford and Pogba both came back from injuries around lockdown because I think the league was on pause for a few months. And I think we literally went 14 games unbeaten in the Premier League, went from like 8th to 4th. And the vibes that we had, you know, NHS Martial, Pogba, Matic, Bruno. That 5-2 win over Bournemouth was such a good game. Like, you know, there were so many good games there. I think top 3, but then it's really hard not to include when McTominay scored late versus City from like the halfway line. Because he got a few wins over City.
Also, by the way, you're forgetting probably what would be my favourite is that night in Paris.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was the...
I put that, for me, that's number 1. That might be number 1 in the last decade. In terms of just like a pure single moment, the FA Cup final against you lot, 2024, that's high up there as well. But the fact that we were so done in for that PSG game, did we lose the first leg?
2-0, we lost the first
2-0,
leg,
and then come back 3-1, Marcus Rashford, last minute penalty, Lukaku race. For me, that's top. But also then, the 5-1 against Leeds, not to add because that was on my 21st birthday. So obviously that was a fantastic day for me. And then also I would say, you know, you said signing Ronaldo. Mine would be watching Bruno Fernandes' first 6 months at United.
Oh,
my jaw was on the floor for basically 5 months.
The biggest impact signing I've ever seen in the Premier League.
Yeah.
8th to 4th.
I agree.
Or 3rd,
at least from what I've seen with my own eyes.
Like, if Ineos want to bring someone in January that has a Bruno Fernandes impact in the DM role, please do. But I don't think it's possible.
I don't think there's anyone in world football that'll be able to do that for us.
No, he's
Like,
one of
really,
a kind.
really don't. But regardless, Alice, won't take much more of your time. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Cheers. Yeah.
I don't like a few of them moments.
We're like just thinking about them.
Yeah, that
And thinking about
that
what we
FA
could
Cup,
do.
Yeah. I'm the more I think about Solskjaer coming back, the more I do worry about that derby game.
If Solskjaer can rejuvenate some of the juice he had before, this is why I'm so sold on it, and why like the kind of like the real just like fan side of me, like you know how like all fans dream, don't they?
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
dream
yeah.
of signing the best players, you dream of on the dreamer side of me is going like just like think. Cause I remember I had such a specific moment under Solskjaer, which will stick with me forever, which was I went to go watch United play at the Emirates. And I was in the home end. So because a mate of mine was an Arsenal fan and got some tickets. And I was in the home end, but I was in the gate next to the away end. And they had, I don't know if it's still there or not in the Emirates, but at the time they had a big metal divider going between where the away fans came and the home fans came in the stadium. And all I could hear was just on repeat, like thudding, lots of thudding with the Ole's at the wheel chant. And I was stood there on the other side of this thing. I couldn't see any of the fans.
Bet you were gutted.
But I could just hear them. Well, I was A, gutted that wasn't part of it. B, I was looking at it just being like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that is like just like the unity.
The
all
best
these
vibes
fans,
you've had since
it's
Fergie.
by far and away the
Miles.
best. By far, well, I think we lost that game 2-0 in the end.
Yeah.
I think it was Xhaka scored from like 30 yards or something. Or like it's like a deflected effort that went well over everybody. But regardless, it was before that game. Like hearing it did as you know, it gave me chills.
Yeah,
I can't think of a single other manager who's been able to unify our club like that since. Because also he stands for us more than any other manager. This is the thing. So after the Live at 5 yesterday, I had a bit of a conversation with Kenya about this. And then we were talking about like, you know, the academy graduates at us and Amorim not using the academy right. And I feel like part of the reason why we've strayed so far from who we were is because we've not stuck to our identity. Man United's identity is what's dragged them more than anything through everything that we've had. What's made us the biggest club in the world, at times the best team in the world, treble winning team, going back to back Premier Leagues, etc. It's our identity as a complete unified family. You know, it's us against the world. We're as one together. Youth players, senior players, coaches, kit members, everything's together. We've not had that. But Solskjaer was the closest to that.
Yeah.
He was being able to bring in big players, use big players such as Pogba, like Alice mentioned, Matic, De Gea, etc. But also while bringing in younger players and blooding them in, like kind of, you know, getting Marcus Rashford 23, 24 years old, starting to bleed through, like with Mason Greenwood, for example, before he left. And it's like we've not had a manager who's been able to do both of that. And at the moment, with the fact that our squad's quite young, we've got young players who need a confidence, like Šeško needs a confidence boost. He needs to kind of feel more at home. Lenny Yoro's going for a rough patch here and there. Kobbie Mainoo's not started in 23 games or something in the Premier League. Like
He'll be delighted.
or a lot, yeah. He'll be. Apparently, he's already decided that he's staying now.
Yeah.
Like all it took was Ruben Amorim to go, and he's like, you know what? No,
I
I'm
like
back
it
there."
here. Yeah.
No, I'm very, 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 very happy for that. But it's just his qualities suit what we need the most, and his deficits are the easiest to avoid.
Yeah, I agree.
So overall, it just makes
No, it
so
makes
much
sense.
sense for me.
No one heard that and thought it's ridiculous. There is obviously a world in which he comes in and it just doesn't work at all.
Of course,
The club that he
Same
left
with
isn't
same
the
with
club
anyone
that there
else.
is at the moment, and he can't get his head around that. There is a world in which that happens, but if anyone is going to take over to the end of the season, that makes sense. I think the Carrick links seemed all right, but also, are you really going to go
I like
from
Carrick.
3 years at Borough, and then your next step is to just take a job over for 16 months, whether it's Man United or not? You'd think that he would have a bit more respect for
Yeah.
himself and want another proper full-time gig. So I think that the Ollie stuff just makes
Yeah,
complete
and also
sense.
just to add to it, now breaking news from Fabrizio Romano, not complete yet, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United have advanced in positive talks over the caretaker. It's looking like it's Solskjaer.
Yeah, fair.
Looking like it's Solskjaer. He'll be in charge definitely by that City game. Don't know if it will even be for the Brighton game, but that should be some good fun. A super chat here from MMETA1231 says, in terms of on the pitch, Ole was the best we've had. Yep, spot on. Just think if he had an actual profile as a centre mid instead of Fred and Scott McTominay, yeah, he still got second. Yeah, but also it's kind of his fault that Scott McTominay was playing at DM.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he was a striker in the
Look at
academy.
him.
Yeah, like Jose put him at DM and Solskjaer kept him there.
Yeah.
And Ten Hag profiled him best with what he does. And then actually no, Antonio Conte is profiled in best MVP Serie A player. Apparently he's having an even better season this season.
He's an absolute joke.
I think Scott McTominay is fantastic. But yes, but I do want to move on before we finish to the announcement that Liam Rosenior is now the official manager, I think, head coach manager. I don't see now. The distinction is in my head.
Yeah,
because of Ruben Amorim.
Chelsea must be head coach.
Chelsea, he's got to be head coach. I don't know.
He's
But regardless, he's the one picking the lineups now at Chelsea. And so I did some digging, right, because I don't know loads about Liam Rosenior, right. The first I heard about him was a while ago at Strasbourg. Actually, the first time I heard of him was when he was gassing up Sir Alex Ferguson a few months ago at Aberdeen. I don't know if you saw this. Strasbourg played Aberdeen, and then he was like, I'm a United fan. Sir Alex is my hero from day one, blah, blah, blah. Now he's taking over at Chelsea. Yeah. 5.5-year deal, plus an option for a further 12 months, which, that's a sign of intent from Chelsea there.
That's how they financially operate.
That's how they financially operate, but also that's a big, big contract to give someone who's 41. He's only a year older than Ruben Amorim. But I went through and I had a look at, how are they going to play? Because Chelsea are the team, when I think of a back three team, I think of Conte's Chelsea, right? That's the only team to win the Premier League with a back three, I believe, at least in recent times. And so I did some digging into Rosenior. Now, how has this Strasbourg team played? So obviously I was looking at Athletic, other sources, checking some highlights. And from what I can gather, based on various different sources and everything, is that Rosenior is a manager where his Strasbourg team can switch formation depending on the opposition a lot. So it could be a 3-4-2-1, the formation that I now despise, but also like switching to a 4-3-3 / classic 4-2-3-1 apparently very regularly, like literally depending on whatever's going on, it's switched left, right and centre. But what I found so interesting was looking at their passing maps. Their goalkeeper is outside the area on their passing maps, or right on the edge of that D for the passing map. So Sanchez, I think that might be something they're going to immediately look at in the summer goalkeeper position, because I don't know if Sanchez will be able to do that. Well, we'll see for the rest of this season. But,
massively improved, by the way, we have to admit. Sanchez this season has been massively improved. He's improved,
but he still
he's not
needs
got
to
the
be improved upon, regardless.
Yeah,
he's done well in improving. He's had some good games, and he was good against you guys. In the 1-1 draw, but I think overall they've got to improve him. But another one was that so for context, this is a stat for you. No League One goalkeeper with over 900 minutes averages more touches outside their penalty area than Penders, who averages 39.4 a game. Touches outside the area.
That's nuts.
How crazy is that?
That's like triple Edison stuff.
Yeah. I was about to say, Edison was mad when he came in.
That's nuts.
When he was running to midfield occasion. Was it against Leicester? I think it was.
I think the Wolves game.
Or the Wolves
when he took it out, and he did like a little Cruyff turn on the halfway line.
And he probably only had about 10 touches outside the box.
That's
39.
Yeah,
in the Premier League, that's either fantastic or he's getting eaten alive.
That's not going to happen in the Premier League.
I don't think it'll be happening in the Premier League, but he's going to try, realistically, he's already employed by Blueco.
Yeah.
Like they know what they're getting. So outside the box, in the midfield, sharp passing is a key component of his style. The extent to which side sticks to those principles is particularly noteworthy, with only PSG and Barcelona having a lower share of their passes being long hits, so more than 35 yards, than Strasbourg, 6%. So only 6% of Strasbourg's passes are over 35 yards. That's short, snappy, quick.
They've got the players to do it, Chelsea, though.
They do. They've
got the players to do it. I quite like the appointment, and I think that Chelsea fans who I've seen on social media are being, in my opinion, and this might be completely wide of the mark, I think they're being way too harsh on the ownership, and I think they're being way too harsh on Liam Rosenior. I think that under Abramovich, Chelsea fans got used to winning all the time, and if someone didn't win for one season, they'd get replaced by another manager who would then be embedded until they won, and then as soon as they got slightly worse from winning, then they'd get sacked, they'd get another manager in who would win again. And that was their philosophy, and we always used to laugh at that philosophy. As fans of other teams, we always said, that's ridiculous. Chelsea sacked their managers too quickly. Yeah. We always said that. Now they've changed tack. They went with Graham Potter. They gave him a fairly long contract, I think 3.5 years for Graham Potter. Someone who was identified at Brighton as playing really nice football. It was going to take a while. Okay, it didn't work in the end. That's absolutely fine. They've gone for Pochettino, another one who is a bit more of a project manager. He's not going to come in and win you things instantly. It didn't work out in the end. Enzo Maresca, another project manager. It didn't work out in the end. But all of these managers, it's not like this Liam Rosenior is like a massive outlier. He's following the trend of what Chelsea want, which is someone who can go there. Yes, they need results quickly, but someone who can build a little bit of a dynasty. And I think people are being way too disrespectful of him. And I think people aren't realising that Chelsea now are just running how a normal football club runs, which is trying to... I think so. I think in their managerial appointments, I genuinely think that they're trying to prepare for the future. This Liam Rosenior thing, it's not like a complete... It's not a gamble. It's not a complete one. It's a gamble, but it's not like a complete random, let's pick a name out of a hat sort of thing. They've identified him as someone who is a very, very talented young manager who plays a style of football that they want to play. That's why he's in there. And I think there's been way too much disrespect too early on. And maybe I'm wide of the mark because I feel like no Chelsea fan is going to sit there and agree with me. But I don't think that this is that bad. I think Maresca should have kept his job, but I don't know what happened there. Maybe the relationship deteriorated. But Maresca seemed like a manager.
Is it an extent of, do they want something long term, or do they think they want something long term but they don't actually? I know that's a bit of a meta question, but it's like they think they want something long term but then they don't actually stick it out.
They might not stick it out, but that might be due to circumstances that we don't know.
You think each time it's just been
I think each time it just hasn't. I think the Graham Potter thing, Graham Potter, unfortunately, was misprofiled by every single big club in the world. I think he probably, let's be honest, isn't as good a manager as we all thought he was. That was proved at West Ham. He's now in the Sweden national team. Okay? Yeah. We all thought that in 10 years, when he was at Brighton, we all thought in 10 years, he's going to be United manager or Chelsea manager or England manager. We all thought that. He was misprofiled. I think the other ones just haven't worked out. I think Maresca should have worked. He's from the Pep Guardiola school of philosophy. City want him, right? City actively want him to replace Guardiola, or he's certainly on the shortlist of 3. That means that he can't be a bad manager. He can't be a bad managerial appointment. Maybe it didn't work out because of his ego. Maybe things didn't work out behind the scenes.
Or just the way it's structured upstairs.
But I don't think that Graham Potter at the time was a bad managerial appointment. I don't think Pochettino was a bad managerial appointment.
Yeah.
I don't think Maresca was. And I don't think that Liam Rosenior will be. I think Chelsea fans are collating too many things and they're saying, oh yeah, but we haven't won a big trophy in so long, even though they won the Club World Cup, which you can... take it however you want. They think because they haven't won the Champions League or the Premier League in so long, this is just another example of failure. I think this is quite an exciting time. You've got a manager who has worked under the branch of clubs. You've got a manager who plays exciting football. You've got a young manager. You've got an English manager. I just think it's fairly exciting. I know Chelsea fans have a huge high ceiling for their expectations of always wanting to win. I don't think it's that bad. Do you agree? You don't...
No, I think that Chelsea will eventually find what they want, but I think they don't actually quite know what they want, but they'll know it when they see it.
And you think Rosenior's not that?
He could be it. He could be it. I think part of me thinks that because people are so from minute one against it, or all I've seen is just Matisse jokes ever since they were first linked with him. That almost tells me that it probably is going to go well, because when you've got high expectations of it, maybe it's like bringing Poch in, who was doing so well at Spurs, bringing, Maresca's under, ex-Man City under coach. Look what Arteta's done since leaving Man City, etc., etc. They've gone, this is going to be good, and then it's not worked. At United, it was Ruben Amorim. We've got our new flashy manager. He plays a revolutionary style of football. We're going to knock it out of the park. Then it's all going to. But now it's kind of this is a bit dead. Expectations are here, so almost that's gonna work in his favour. He'll put a few wins together, and suddenly it's you know what, I got this. But one more thing, just some extra news I want to bring out in the last couple of minutes, just before we close up, is according to Bild, the German outlet, Luis Enrique has refused to extend his contract with PSG because he wants a new challenge in the summer. Talking about teams who want new managers, that's very, very interesting. I think Luis Enrique being on the market, considering just how good everyone knows Luis Enrique is, treble with Barcelona, treble with PSG, he's just flat out one of the best managers around. If he's available in the summer, that's big.
That's huge.
That's absolutely huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge.
Him being in there.
He's almost probably ruled out from Real Madrid as well if it doesn't work out well for them because of his Barcelona connection.
I don't think he would.
You would assume he would never manage them.
He's so emotionally connected to Barcelona.
He's so emotionally connected. So then you look... He's at PSG. He's going to leave. Yeah. You do think that the Premier League is the natural place for him to come.
All I'm saying,
I don't think that you would be the right place for him, and I think he will probably know that because he seems to me like the kind of manager who's a bit of a keys to the kingdom manager. He will want to have control over everything. And
We'd
not
have
sure
to change how we run.
You'd have to
him in.
change how you run things
But
massively.
I hope we would.
Luis
kind of
Enrique
seems like
a Chelsea manager, to be honest.
Yeah, he does scream Chelsea.
He screams Chelsea, doesn't he?
But they've just hired Rosenior. But I mean, well, no, he was my top dog choice when we were looking for a manager when we hired Eric Ten Hag. I was like, no, I want Enrique. That's who I wanted. Like flat, I was like, he's one of the best managers in world football.
Yeah, he is an amazing manager.
And I also do think, I said this recently, someone who's been through Barcelona will know how United want to be more than... I think United are the closest club... Sorry, Barcelona are the closest club to United in European football in terms of like youth, courage, access, all of that. But yeah, so...
That's an
Do keep an eye on that. Luis Enrique reportedly, according to, again, it's sources in Germany, so not 100% sure, how reliable it's going to be, refusing a contract at Paris Saint-Germain, and he wants a new challenge in the summer. But regardless, thank you so much for coming on, Kim. It's been a pleasure.
It's been class.
Yeah, it's been a nice, almost cathartic for me as well. Just get all my Amorim stuff out. Look to the future. Darren Fletcher's taken over. And by the way, tomorrow on Live at 5, we're going to be previewing, I know there's a game tonight, but we're previewing all the other games ahead of the action. Obviously, Liverpool-Arsenal is probably the big highlighted game this midweek. But obviously, plenty of other games going on. Apart from that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Let's go. What do you do with yours? I do unlimited football content.
Well, I do unlimited bragging.
Well, I do unlimited swiping right.
Well, I do unlimited doom scrolling.
Well, I do unlimited sliding into the DMs.
Well, I do watching TikTok on the bus without headphones unlimited.
Oh, God.